Recently, Wall Street has been canceling trips to China in a snowball effect. JPMorgan canceled a technical team's trip to Beijing, Goldman Sachs instructed its staff in China to report daily financial records, and Visa postponed signing a data center contract in Shanghai, among other actions. All of this stems from the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, banning 2 American citizens from leaving the country. This situation goes beyond just diplomatic rifts. It reflects a larger reality. The CCP is facing a profound economic and political crisis. Some researchers and analysts are already preparing for a post-CCP China. Let's take a closer look at these turning points in today's program. Overseas Chinese taken hostage by the CCP. On July 21st, the U.S. State Department confirmed that a U.S. Commerce Department official was banned from leaving China after entering the country. A spokesperson mentioned that the employee, visiting China in a personal capacity, is in contact with CCP officials for resolution. The CCP did not explain the reason for the ban, but the Washington Post speculated that the official did not disclose his U.S. government ties when applying for a visa. U.S. documents reveal that since spring, Chinese security agents had been monitoring the official during a family visit in Chengdu, questioning him about his service in the U.S. military. In early April, he was detained in Chengdu, and his passport, credit cards, phone, and iPad were seized. While his passport was returned, he was banned from leaving. After being escorted by U.S. officials to Beijing, he has since gone missing. The U.S. Embassy in China stated that the CCP's travel ban could harm bilateral relations, which are already at a dangerous low point. People with ties to the CCP should be cautious. This isn't the first time a U.S. citizen has been restricted from leaving, but it's the first time a U.S. government employee has been publicly detained. Recently, Mao Chen-yue, a Chinese-American leader at Wells Fargo, was also targeted by the CCP after visiting China. On July 17th, she was stopped at Shanghai's Pudong Airport as she was about to fly back to the U.S. and is now detained in a Shanghai hotel with all communication devices confiscated. Mao Chen-yue, born in Shanghai and a U.S. citizen, has been Wells Fargo's chief credit officer since 2012, overseeing cross-border credit solutions. Her division managed 80% of U.S.-China guarantee operations. In the first half of this year, she and her team processed over $1.7 billion in supply chain financing for companies like Xiaomi, NIO, and BYD. Factoring is a banking service where exporters can sell their receivables to guarantee companies for immediate cash, with the guarantee company collecting the payment later. Mao's team specialized in solving these cross-border financial issues, helping Chinese companies save 30% on financing costs. Despite aiding the CCP in solving many problems, Mao has been treated as a hostage. Why is Mao being held? One possible reason lies in a related event. On July 3rd, Italy arrested a 33-year-old Chinese hacker, Xu Zewei, at the U.S. request. The U.S. accused him of stealing COVID-19 vaccine data from the University of Texas. On the surface, these events seem unrelated, but they reflect the complex reality of U.S.-China relations. Some Chinese media speculate that Xu Zewei, due to his charges, may not be released easily. To secure his return, the CCP may demand a hostage exchange. Mao Chen-yue and the U.S. official are seen as potential bargaining chips. To the CCP, your identity and affiliations are less important than whether you can be exchanged for a more valuable asset. The CCP's use of Mao Chen-yue as a hostage is a double-edged sword. It not only damages U.S.-China relations, but also erodes Western capital's trust in the CCP. Wall Street's rapid withdrawal signals a collapse of confidence. Wall Street has long maintained close ties with the CCP, lobbying the White House on its behalf. Now, even Wall Street is distancing itself from the CCP. Is the day the CCP becomes a financial island approaching? The CCP claims to welcome foreign investment, but who dares to invest now? CCP reveals its true face amid Trump's attacks. Since Trump became U.S. president, he has directly or indirectly targeted the CCP while addressing a range of contentious issues. Trump launched a global trade war, clearly indicating that the issue was not just economic. The U.S. brought up the burden of U.S. military funding unrelated to trade, placing it on the agenda. Now, Vietnam has signed trade agreements with the U.S. that impose a 40% tax on third-party goods exported to the U.S. via Vietnam. Although the U.S. has not explicitly named China, it has long accused the country of acting as a transit point for Chinese goods. The U.S. has not only blocked loopholes exploited by the CCP in tariff issues, but also in the military sphere. Trump took decisive action to strike Iran's nuclear facilities, demonstrating the dominance of U.S. military power in the region and significantly boosting its credibility in the Indo-Pacific. Notably, Russia and China almost stayed on the sidelines as the U.S. military attacked Iran, avoiding direct confrontation with Trump. This served as a warning to other nations aligning with China and Russia, like North Korea. Recently, Wang Yi, China's foreign minister, stated at the EU-China high-level strategic dialogue that he didn't want to see Russia fail and feared the U.S. would shift its focus to China. His statement drew global attention. Japanese and Taiwanese journalist Akio Yaeda noted that Wang Yi spilled the beans about the CCP's true intentions. Shortly after, Xi Jinping met with Russia's foreign minister and didn't deny the matter. The CCP clearly declared that it does not want to see Russia fail and would support it. The CCP has long pretended to be neutral diplomatically and has profited from this. Wang Yi's statement led to the complete collapse of China's diplomatic facade. Taiwanese geopolitical analyst Huang Jinzhong wrote in Deutsche Welle that ensuring Russia does not lose is not the best scenario for China. Russia must be prevented from winning, but not allowed to lose. The most advantageous situation for China is for the Russia-Ukraine war to remain unresolved. Firstly, this would help divert and interfere with the U.S.'s strategic resource allocation, foreign policy, and global military deployments, preventing the U.S. from focusing its firepower on China. Secondly, it would encourage Russia to continue seeking China's help, gaining leverage in bilateral interactions, thereby weakening Russia's strength. This would allow China to expand its influence in Moscow's traditional areas of Central Asia, the Middle East, and beyond, rallying more friendly nations to counter the U.S. Trump was clearly impatient with Putin's do one thing, say another approach. He pledged to provide Ukraine with advanced weapons, including Patriot missile systems through NATO, and demanded that Russia send its own Patriot missile systems to Ukraine within 50 days to reach an agreement or face secondary sanctions on countries buying Russian oil. The CCP would bear the heaviest consequences. According to data from China's state-owned Sinopec, around 19.6% of China's oil imports in 2024 will come from Russia, making Russia China's largest crude oil supplier. Trump clearly had no intention of eliminating Putin, as he did not want to completely block the potential for improving U.S.-Russia relations. Ultimately, Trump's priority is to push for a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine as soon as possible to prevent the CCP from continuing to exploit the Russia-Ukraine war for its own benefit. Xi Jinping's power is seriously threatened. On July 16, former U.S. Ambassador Gregory W. Slayton published an article in the New York Post titled "Xi Jinping is losing his grip on China, and Trump can give him a push." The article pointed out that in recent months, key loyalists of Xi have been repeatedly dismissed or have mysteriously died. Xi's complete control over the military and the CCP is increasingly unstable. A dictator, like a dictatorship, often appears solid but is in fact on the verge of collapse. It mirrors the situation just months before the Soviet Union dissolved, when the CIA still predicted that the USSR would remain stable for decades. Even experts dared not predict its rapid collapse. Currently, China's ruling elite is facing serious economic challenges. The Chinese economy is in decline, with massive capital outflows, a record-high unemployment rate, and both public and private debt at unsustainable levels, causing deep instability and even public protests across the country. Moreover, the people's living conditions are dire. On July 17, 2025, a massive fire broke out at an industrial park in Yubei Town, Danyang, Jiangsu. The fire began in a mobile building belonging to Yili Company, spreading quickly and engulfing a factory filled with plastic, creating toxic smoke and extreme heat, making firefighting efforts very difficult. 2 people died, and the incident is still under investigation. On the same day, a furniture store in Fuzhou also caught fire, fortunately without casualties. These recent factory and warehouse fires across China highlight the alarming situation regarding fire safety. Additionally, extreme heat waves are sweeping across Chinese provinces, with road temperatures reaching 92 degrees Celsius. Cities like Chongqing, Suzhou, and Danyang are enduring intense heat, making daily life suffocating. The combination of heat and pollution, particularly from factory smoke, is creating a death heat dome across the country, making the environment unbearable. This is the result of decades of unsustainable development. If most CCP leaders believe that the country cannot endure more instability, they may cautiously arrange for Xi to step down peacefully to avoid a coup. Beijing politicians believe that Xi's disastrous economic and foreign policy mistakes in recent years make it likely that his successor will adopt a collective leadership and reform model, akin to Deng Xiaoping's era. The article suggests that Xi is resisting the idea of relinquishing power. Trump's tariff measures have pushed the Chinese economy into serious trouble, weakening Xi's power while increasing the likelihood that his successor will be more favorable to U.S. interests. The signs are becoming increasingly clear that the era of Xi Jinping is nearing its end. The U.S. and its Western allies must prepare for the upcoming changes in the world's second-largest economy, which is currently the biggest global competitor of the U.S. Preparing for a post-CCP world? On July 16, the Hudson Institute published a report by Miles Yu titled China After Communism, Preparing for a Post-CCP China. The report argues that, as the Chinese Communist Party consolidates its power and pursues global hegemony, China is facing serious and complex structural challenges. Although China has overcome many crises in the past, the prospect of regime collapse is not out of the question. This report, with contributions from experts in military, intelligence, economics, human rights, transitional justice, and constitutional governance, analyzes the steps that should be taken immediately after the CCP's collapse and China's long-term trajectory after stabilization. The report covers several key chapters, including 1. OSS in China again, the role of U.S. Special Operations Forces after CCP collapse. The author, from the Hudson Institute, describes U.S. operations in China during World War II and proposes that Special Operations Forces, SOF, assist in stabilizing post-CCP China by supporting a temporary government, protecting critical infrastructure, and promoting the peaceful emergence of a new government through cooperation with local forces. This chapter emphasizes the role of historical narrative, collective memory, and symbolic legitimacy during the post-communist transition. 2. Neutralizing biological weapons facilities after CCP collapse. Ryan Clark assesses the CCP's biological weapons infrastructure, warning that the PLA's dual-use biological research presents a strategic threat. He suggests 3 approaches for neutralizing biological weapons labs, emphasizing simultaneous operations, territorial control, and the safe handling or destruction of hazardous materials to prevent disaster. 3. Restructuring China's financial system. Clark calls for recapitalizing China's economy, with a new government abandoning illegal debts, privatizing state assets, and decentralizing power. He argues that CCP policies have stifled economic potential, and a liberalized financial system is necessary for domestic prosperity and global integration. 4. Protecting Chinese assets in the U.S. Gordon G. Chang recommends that the U.S. withdraw businesses and citizens from China, remove Chinese entities from key sectors of the U.S. economy, and emphasizes the risks of cooperating with Beijing. He also discusses how to handle Chinese assets in the U.S. 5. Restructuring the PLA, the armed police, and militias. Rick Fisher proposes a plan to demilitarize and professionalize the vast security apparatus post-CCP, retaining a streamlined military focused on national defense and disaster relief, while disbanding political repression units. A non-imperial military could help the new government engage in peacekeeping and space cooperation activities. 6. Spy versus spy, the CCP's security and intelligence apparatus without centralized power. This chapter analyzes the risk of fragmentation within the Ministry of State Security, MSS, and local police bureaus, drawing lessons from European political transitions, particularly the dissolution of secret police networks and the declassification of files. 7. Human rights in China's autonomous regions. Nina Shea emphasizes the protection of human rights during the transitional period, urging U.S. intervention to prevent ethnic violence, civil war, and political revenge, particularly in the 5 autonomous regions: Guangxi, Xinjiang, Tibet, Inner Mongolia, and Ningxia. She also notes the need to address grievances of religious minorities, such as Christians and Falun Gong. 8. Launching Truth and Reconciliation in China. This chapter suggests the establishment of a Truth and Reconciliation Commission modeled after South Africa, emphasizing that investigating and publicly disclosing past crimes is necessary for China's peaceful transition to democracy. 9. Constitutional Convention Plan. The chapter focuses on establishing a post-communist democratic system, drafting a new constitution, considering the redefinition of regional boundaries, reshaping relations with Taiwan, and determining a new national name. Clearly, the collapse of the CCP is not a conspiracy theory. In fact, this prospect is drawing near. As the saying goes, a wise person sees the times and seizes the opportunity. Those who recognize the situation first will control the game. Have you prepared mentally for this? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you in the next program.